changing lives.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are warmly welcome to the consulting room, coming to you live from the studios of Hope Channel. My name is Dr. Kweku Sumensa. I'm your standing host. I'm here with
Dr. Sylvia Siedu.
And then Dr. Benedict Osayado.
The topic for today is the Adventist Young Doctor's Journey. Today's program is kindly sponsored by Cocoa Dairy-Free Milk, which contains all the essential vitamins and minerals you need. We'll be going for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll speak more on the topic.
Cocoa Dairy-Free Coconut Milk. Cocoa Dairy-Free Coconut Milk is a fully plant-based milk, non-curdling in tea or coffee, and it's a lovely treat with any breakfast beverage or meal. It contains calcium and vitamin D2 for strong teeth and bones, and vitamin B12 to help boost your blood for vitality. Cocoa is 100% vegetarian and is approved by the Vegetarian Society of UK. It's also lactose and dairy-free, which is good even for people with lactose intolerance. Cocoa, get one today. Cocoa Dairy-Free Coconut Milk. Nature's health at your doorstep. For bulk purchases, contact 027-444-0180. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA. Cocoa Dairy-Free Coconut Milk.
All right, welcome back to the consulting room. As we said earlier, today's topic is the Adventist Young Doctor's Journey. My child is a doctor, my brother or sister is a doctor, my spouse is a proud doctor. In fact, nowadays, almost everyone we know is a doctor. Doctors all over the world are celebrated, treasured, and revered, and even more so in Ghana. It is regarded as a noble profession, and many desire to be one. It has been seen as a field requiring a higher than normal intelligence quotient to scale. But few of those understand the burden, the stress, the anxiety, and the failures of becoming one. When combined with religion, these pressures are taken to a notch higher. From the first day one sets foot into a medical school, societal pressure radically changes our other person. The person's orientation, outlook, and expectations take a 360-degree turn. The hurdle to climb appears an even widening ocean each year that you move forward. And when finally it's pushed into real practice after graduation, the practice of medicine becomes like a never-ending story, with the practitioner not knowing where to turn, either left, right, or center. The Adventist doctor is forced to face several unique challenges, both in school, work, and in society. The experiences can be a blockbuster movie. So if you want to know how the Adventist doctor faces all these dilemmas, please stay with us. Today's discussion, I'm joined with two other colleagues who have recently graduated from medical schools, and we are here to talk about our challenges, our problems, how we navigated the school, and how some keys to success. And so I'll first ask my colleagues, why the choice to become a doctor?
All right, thank you, Dr. Kweku. I was really expecting this question because for a journey to become a doctor, by all means, why I even chose to be within the health profession. So at first, I used to consider being an engineer. So I was thinking of like either be an engineer or a doctor. But I realized, I can do more in the health field compared to the mathematics field. I was good in biology more than my core maths and e-maths. And so I thought, knowing more about biology, I'll fit very, very well in the health sciences than engineering. That was the reason I chose to become a doctor.
Okay, so for me, what motivated me to become a doctor was from a very young age. We had a family doctor, and this person was someone I really respected for a very long time. And when he passed away, that's what made me have that resolution that I want to become a doctor. Like, I wanted to follow in his footsteps and like bring changes, like positive changes into the world. So that's what made me want to become a medical doctor.
Okay, I think for me, I didn't really, when I graduated from senior high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I spoke to several other people, and everyone was like, oh, be a doctor, you can go into actuarial science, you can go and do several other things. But I just decided that, all right, let me just try this doctor thing and see how it goes. And I'm really glad I made that decision. It has been challenging, but I always managed to sail through, so I'm glad I did that. I'd also want to ask, what are some of your initial thoughts when you first started your medical education?
Okay, so, right from admission, admitting medical students into medical school, like admitting us into the medical school, the challenges that comes up with it. You need to write entrance exam, you'd have to go for interview and all those things. So I knew right from the start it would be very, very difficult, very, very challenging. You need to study a lot in order to thrive through.
Okay, so for me, when I got admitted, I got UCC Medical School. When I got there, before I even got there, I was told that UCC is very difficult. So I'd already set my mind that I'm going to go through a lot of difficult situations before I graduate. So I'd already set my mind that the journey is not going to be easy. Yeah.
I attended the University of Ghana Medical School, and one of the few things that gave me hope was that at least my home was close by, so no matter how difficult it was, I can always go home and then recuperate and then come back. But again, it was a bit challenging. When we went to write the entrance exam, there were over, I think, there were so many of us, and I was like, what are the chances of I being selected for this? But I kept on trusting God. I did my best, and I think that is the reason I was able to get in. Also, in University of Ghana, we do about a year of biology and animal biology, plant biology, physics and chemistry before getting into the medical school in level 200. So we had a year in which it was a bit free, we're doing things rather calmly. But once we got into the real medical school, we realized that it was a lot of work. So I also want to ask, what are some of the peculiar challenges that you faced in regards to being an Adventist medical student?
Okay, I'll speak more of our Sabbath, Saturdays and Fridays, where we are not supposed to study. You see, you need to keep the Sabbath holy. So in secondary school, I went to Prempeh College, and then for secondary school, I was really observing it, my Fridays and my Saturdays. But when I came to medical school, pre-clinical, because we knew like, oh, the school is difficult, you need to study a lot, and then leaving out Friday, go to church, then come and sleep, then go to church on Saturday, and then until it's 6 p.m. before you can take your books and study. It was really, really challenging. It was very, very difficult. I remember there was a time pharmacology, that was third year, and we had a lot of things to study. We were closing early in third year, so most of the times you close, you don't study, then you go and sleep. And I had piled notes, and we were going to write an exam on Monday. I had a lot of things to study in pharmacology. So going to sleep on Friday, then going to church on Saturday, after church, wait till 6 p.m. It was that difficult. It was very, very difficult. And then for even some of my colleagues, they had to write exam on Saturdays. Yeah, that was also very, very challenging. That was in clinical year. So those were some of the challenges we faced as Adventists. Yeah.
Okay, for me, at school, luckily we weren't having our examinations on Fridays, we weren't having our examinations on Fridays, and so we're quite free. We usually write our examinations on Monday, so when it comes to having issues with the Sabbath, I wasn't really facing so much. But it was just some of the rotations that we used to have, I think, our ops and gynae rotations. Sometimes we used to do weekend rotations. And so with that one, you have the challenge of whether you should go to church or you should go for the rotation, because like you're dealing with your lecturers too as well. And I think that was one of the area where I was really having issues with whether I should go to church and then come back and continue with my rotation, or I should stay and do the rotation and then miss church.
Right. I think that for me personally, in preclinical years, you know, for level 200, we usually take a bus to Kolebu from Legon. So in that time, it was far easier to keep the Sabbath, because when I come from school on Friday, I'm already tired. So I just can't fall asleep, wake up in time, go for Vesper service, and then I'll be able to keep the Sabbath till then. But when it got to clinical years and we're now in Kolebu, it became very difficult, because, you know, you power a lot of work for the weekend, and then sometimes you look at the mountain of work that you have to do, and you're like, if I wait till Saturday evening, will I be able to finish? But I always tried my very best to do it. And then Sylvia, about the concept of non-academic work, maybe extracurricular work, sports, fun and games, seminars, how were you able to navigate that?
Okay, so for those sort of activities, I usually used to miss a lot of them because they usually fall on Saturdays. And so even though I look at my friends and then they are going for these fun activities, I put aside the fact that these fun activities, later in life, I might be able to go for them. And then I still continue to go to church. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I had a chance of becoming the president, JCR president for Confirmatory in clinical year. You know, most of our programs, because from Monday to Friday, we'll be in class, we'll be going to the ward. And so most of our programs, we would organize it on Saturday. And then there was this particular program, Adrenaline. We do it on Saturday. It's a form of exercise. And as an Adventist, I would have to go to church. But then I also had a sports and entertainment chairman being an Adventist too. So we need to organize this program, leave them there, then go to church. After church, we come and see how it went, then pack our things and go. Yeah, it was really challenging. It was really challenging. We weren't able to participate in most of these programs. I remember this vaccination program that was also done. It was done on Saturday for us. And then as the president who needs to be around to make sure like everything is going on very well, I had to go to church. I had to do this and that. And so like you become very, very busy combining all these things. Yeah.
Do you think it affected your job or the work you did as a president?
Yeah, it did. So I wasn't really able to organize a lot of programs, yeah, because as an Adventist on Saturdays I wouldn't be around, yeah, and then even some meetings we are to attend in school, because on Saturdays we are to go to Ken University for some kind of administrative meeting, and because I'm an Adventist, I can't go for these kind of meetings, SRC meetings and all those things. Yeah, so it kind of affected my role as a president.
I see. But we thank God.
But I see the grace is sufficient.
God's grace is
Always
sufficient
ends well
for us all. I also want to ask on the concept of group studies. Me personally, I was in a group study that had to meet Friday evening, but I'd like to inquire, were any of you in any group study that met on Friday evening or on Saturday, and how were you able to go about it?
Okay, so yeah, I was in a group that's used to meet on Friday evenings and then on Saturdays, both of the days. And for me, they were very patient with me. They were very understanding. So when they have these group studies, they used to post it onto the page. And I have someone in the group who would take me through what they've discussed so far, so that if there was something that I didn't understand, they would help me go through it. So when it comes to that side of academics, I didn't really have an issue with it.
Okay, yeah, I was also lucky. We were two Adventists in the group, and the group leader, Klinsman Opoku, he was my best friend. And so, yeah, we were supposed to have a day off. And so we made it Fridays, then we meet Saturday evening. We weren't meeting on Fridays.
All right. I think now that I remember, in our final year, as part of one of our examinations, we're supposed to do some sort of skills that involves, inserting an intravenous cannula onto a mannequin, that sort of thing. And because the group study will comprise of several people doing different sort of things, most people are going on Saturdays. But because we were Adventists, we will be in church on Saturdays, so we're missing out on it. But what we did was, we decided as Adventists, and then we went on a particular day, just as during the week. So we all sacrificed time, and they were able to go there and then make the best of the time we had over there. So that's how we managed over there. You mentioned, Benedict, that you were the GCR president. I want to find out, did you have any leadership role in the church?
Oh yeah, I was the welfare chairman also.
Oh, that's interesting. I was also interest coordinator for NAS Kolebu. And Sylvia?
Okay, so I was the general secretary for our main network.
Main network?
Yeah,
right.
in my church.
How did you combine all these with your school? Because I'm sure most of you had these leadership roles in the tail end, 5th year, 6th year. So Benedict, how were you able to combine these two?
Mine wasn't that difficult. We weren't a lot, and so checking up on people. See, we close from church. Then those who do not come to church, you go to their rooms, then check up on them, who has wrong with them, and all those things. Then we were in an enclosed place. We're together. Our hostels are very, very close, so it doesn't really take a distance to go and see someone in your church. See, I had friends who had their rooms opposite mine, and so if they don't come to church, it was very simple checking up on them. So it didn't really affect me like that. Yeah.
All right. What about you, Sylvia?
Okay, so the position I had was for Adventist Medical Evangelism Network. So it's like this society within the church. So obviously they already know the norms of the church and all the activities that we are supposed to do. So it wasn't difficult combining it with medical school, because the activities that you're supposed to do as a general secretary in that particular society is not that much. So I was able to combine it with my studies, and it also didn't affect me as an Adventist, because it was already.
All right. I think for me too, as the interest coordinator, I sort of took it as like warfare, tried to check up on people as much as possible. What I did was, I sort of, delegated time, and then even if there were times when I couldn't go and see each person specifically, what I'll do is I'll try and like do broadcast messages and text everybody like, okay, hello, how are you? How's everything? Is there any challenges you're facing? That sort of thing. And I think that was what helped me. For my school, in the University of Ghana Medical School, we're not so many Adventists. So even though we're paired, the nurse association, we did it with the nurses, community health students, and the public health students. But we weren't so many medical students. And I think that's for me, because we're so small in number, we're able to check up on each other, we're able to work really hard. And I think that the small number helped me. I'd like to ask you, Sylvia, did the size of the church help you? Was there any benefit to that? Were there any downsides to it?
Oh no, but I would say that we weren't a lot in my class. We were 3 in my class, but luckily one of us was the course rep for my class, so he was able to organize activities that wouldn't affect Fridays or Saturdays. Like, he'll make sure it doesn't fall within the Sabbath.
That sounds very convenient.
Very, very convenient. So we're able to skip all the hurdles that an Adventist student would face when it comes to academics.
Right. Since it was mainly just the 3 of you, were you guys in the same group study? Were you doing any studies together, that sort of thing?
Oh, okay. So I was in a group studies with one of them. Yeah, she's called Lydia. Yeah. So she was. As for our course rep, I wasn't in any group studies with him. He had his own group studies. But with Lydia, because we were both Adventists, and we knew the challenges that we go through, we were able to plan our studies and activities around the Sabbath, so that it doesn't really affect us.
Right. What about you, Benedict?
Okay. Our number, I think it was the best kind of relationship I've ever had. NASCAR, it was very, very great, because we were small in number, we knew each other, we were like that with everyone. See, we close from church, we come to our rooms. Like we come together to our rooms, prepare food together, eat together, like do everything together. That kind of relationship. See, I'll sleep on Saturday. Someone will come to my room and wake me up. Benedict, get ready. Let's go to church. You see, that kind of relationship. It was very, very cool. It was really, really cool. And we were having service with the nursing students. Sometimes we go there, check up on them also. And you see, we knew each other. We were small in number. We were around about 50, 50, we and the nurses. And so, yeah, it was very, very cool. Very, very cool.
I mean, also now school able to, I think we're also around that number, but we've noticed that just before I left, we noticed a huge increase in size because of nurses who are coming in. But again, the small number always solves. Everybody knows everybody. When it's time for the choir to sing, 3/4 of the church goes to stand in front and sing. And then, I mean, it was really a lovely time. On the concept of weekend duty, Benedict, how were you maneuvering it?
See, weekend duties, we didn't really have an option like that. See, sometimes your consultant will be at the ward waiting for you on a weekend, and so you need to you meet your consultant, then after that you go to church, or you go to church, then after that you go and meet your consultant. Yeah, they were very wild. They were wild.
I think for University of Ghana Medical School, we didn't really have much weekend duty, I think until final year, and that was mainly surgery. And what we used to do is that there used to be have a certain, it's called ward rounds on Saturday, where one team will come and lead. And then unfortunately or fortunately, I was a group leader for my team. And then, we were the first group to lead. So I was wondering how am I going to, because I have to be there, it's our own lecturer from the floor who can't be there. I have to be there to coordinate everything. But what I did was I went and told the lecturer frankly that I'm an Adventist. I'm not going to come. So what can we do about the situation? And he said, okay, if I don't want to come, that's fine, but I have to make sure that everything is in order. Who I come to present, that sort of thing. So I think that worked well. I thank God for the confidence to tell the lecturer that.
So there was this smaller group. I also became the group leader. And then the consultant spoke to me to call him on a Saturday so that he meets us. And then because of that, I switched off my phone on a Saturday. We met on Monday. He was like, oh, you didn't call me. I told him, oh, I tried calling you, but I wasn't going through. Yeah.
Right. And then aside from that, sometimes, the team is on duty. And I've heard one of my non-Adventist friends tell me that, we should come around because, we are saving lives. So the thing that is in line, or he thinks that is in line with, the entire concept of the Sabbath. So he thinks that I should be there. What do you think about this matter?
Yes,
It's very, very dicey. You can actually side with the fact that you have to be there to save lives because it's part of the Lord's work. But then someone too can also argue that you are an Adventist and you also have to uphold the Sabbath. So I think for me personally, I think it's a personal decision. In both situations, you are saving lives. I mean, in both situations, you are following
the Lord's work
in a way. So that depends on you.
I see. I think that is also the view that I uphold. I'm sure that, I'm sure that the world is very unforgiving. As we are stepping out to it, we realize that it's not as simple as it is. As when Nas Kolebu, there were sometimes some of our seniors who had left and were now house officers. As try as they could, on some Saturdays they had to go to work. There wasn't any way they could negotiate that. But I saw that they were trying to do what they could. Sometimes they'll come in just for a few hours. Come in the morning, we catch Sabbath school and then go back, or they'll come and catch divine service and go back, that sort of thing. But personally, I think that if we are in the field, we are saving lives, we are doing something we are actively working to save lives. I think that is the Lord's work, and then we should be comfortable in doing that. Benedict, what do you think?
So, see, unless it's very, very critical, yeah, unless it's very, very critical. See, in critical cases, you can't do anything about it. You need to go to the ward. But let's come to the ward. Let's teach you how to do examination and all those things. Oh, nah, I'll go to church. I'll choose to go to church.
All right. So when you start working, what will be your view, or how do you intend to go about it?
Yeah, and see, as I said, unless it's very, very critical, I need to be at the hospital. If it isn't very, very critical, yeah, I'll choose to be at church.
I definitely side with what he's saying.
I mean, in an ideal situation, I believe so, but in Kolebo, usually, if you're supposed to be at work, unless you've gotten someone to cover for you, most of the times, you have to be present at work. So I don't know how feasible that will be, but let's trust God to give us strength and give us courage. So anyway, congratulations to all of us for surviving medical school. How has been the experience so far, Sophia?
It wasn't easy. There have been sad times, there have been happy times, but the Lord took us through.
Can you just give us like a quick review of your final year?
Final year was tough. Like, it was difficult combining the workload that I had to do in final year with going to church and being regular. Yeah, so as for that one, I would say it was very tough for me. But then I was able to still go to church as much as possible. I was skipping in final year, but then I was able to go as much as possible and still combine it with my studies till I finished.
All right. You know, after I finished fifth year, we did obs and gynae and then pediatrics. I thought that nothing could be more difficult than fifth year until I started final year and I realized that it was far more terrible than fifth year. But, so we started the year, we did some psychiatry and then some anesthesia. It was a bit cool, nothing too serious. It reminded me of free clinical years, and you wake up from 8 to 2, you have your lectures, and then that's all you're done. So for that time, it was smooth. You were able to go to church, midweek, Vesper, everything was okay. When we started medicine too, that was also a bit cool, because medicine, usually there was no weekend duty, so just Monday to Friday. Sometimes we'll have some off days, so going to church was a bit easy. The challenge came when we started doing surgery, and personally, surgery was physically demanding. So at the end of the week on Friday, I'm so tired. I was so, okay, let me catch a nap. More often than not, I wake up and it's already 9 p.m. And I've already missed Vespa. And then, unfortunately, my team had duty on Wednesday, and Wednesday was midweek. So, we'll be on the ward, be in the emergency for a while, and then the main challenge was most people leave around between 7 to 8, and that's the time we have midweek service. So I was always conflicted. Sometimes I'll go for midweek and come back, and then we've signed our logbooks, and everybody's gone. And I was now going Tuesday, people to sign the logbook. But yeah, that was a bit difficult. And then when we got into our final rotation, because of the final lap, everybody is now putting in effort. All the group studies are meeting, that sort of thing. So that time too, it was a bit difficult. The week I was so drained, trying to combine 3 or 4 different rotations, community health, medicine, specials into the final rotation. It was a bit difficult. So most of the times, I'll be so tired. Sometimes I'll go for Vespa, and then Saturday I'll wake up at 10 or 11. I'm like, it's too late to go. Other times I'll not go for Vespa, and then but church I'll try and go. Sometimes I'll be late to church. It was very, very difficult, but I always tried as much as possible to combine the two of them. Benedict, how did it?
So I had a perception of, you need 50% to pass medical school.
Unfortunately for us, we use 60%, so we don't have that.
So luxury. Yeah, it was later I realized, actually, I have a lot of things to do. I don't think I'll even make it to 30, so I need to study. Yeah, so it was very, very difficult. See, in 4th year, we did medicine and surgery, junior clerkship. Then final year, we did medicine and surgery again. And in 4th year, I was doing politics, I was doing other stuff, you see. So it wasn't I wasn't really on the studies like that. And so in final year, yeah, there were a lot of load on me. I had to catch up all the things they had done. And for Vespa service, I wasn't missing. It was being done in my hall, so yeah. But you see, you come back, and instead of keeping the Sabbath, you have to take your book and study and all that. It was really difficult. It was really difficult. But we thank God. Yeah.
All right. I'm just going to say this to maybe other medical students, or if you are thinking of going to medical school. school. Maybe once or twice you pick your books on the Sabbath, but it is what it is. It's what it is. Just try your best. I think it's all avoidable if we plan as much as possible and do the right thing, but other times it may not be feasible. So if you're not able to do it once in a while, just allow yourself a break. So yes, now that you're on break, have you guys figured out where you're going to do your house job?
Yeah, our postings came in last 3 weeks, I think. I had a Rich Hospital.
Rich.
Yeah, but we are still waiting for financial clearance to start work.
All right. What about you, Sylvia?
We graduated recently. As in, we finished school recently, so we've not yet even done our induction. Yeah, but hopefully, I'm thinking of 37 Hospital, so or Rich Hospital. So it's between the two of them. The one that I get, I'll go to.
You should choose Rich as a first choice.
I don't know. I think that I would like to go to Kollywood. Also, I was. But I'm also open to maybe going elsewhere. But let us see. All right. So we'll be going for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll be speaking about how, as house officers, we want to spread and promote Adventist health, and how we'll interact with other members of the church who believe in traditional medicine over orthodox medicine. All right.
Cocoa dairy-free coconut milk. Cocoa dairy-free coconut milk is a fully plant-based milk, non-curdling in tea or coffee, and it's a lovely treat with any breakfast beverage or meal. It contains calcium and vitamin D2 for strong teeth and bones, and vitamin B12 to help boost your blood for vitality. Cocoa is 100% vegetarian and is approved by the Vegetarian Society of UK. It's also lactose and dairy-free, which is good even for people with lactose intolerance. Cocoa, get one today. Cocoa dairy-free coconut milk. Nature's health at your doorstep. For bulk purchases, contact 027-444-0180. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA. Cocoa dairy-free coconut milk.
For one night only, the city will converge at the National Theatre as United in Praise presents the A Cappella Festival. Yes! Brace for a divine musical experience on Saturday, December 31, as Ghana's hottest a cappella groups usher us into 2023 in a grand style. On stage performing Black Capella, The Manifest, Vocal Path, Note 6, K3M, New Era, Soul Street, and many more. Special appearances by Pesdak Praise Choir, Gifted Dear, Mark Enimirenchi, and Perez Music. Get an early bird ticket now at a cool 70 Ghana Cedis standard for single, 150 Ghana Cedis VIP, and 300 Ghana Cedis for a family of 5. Simply dial *928*529# to get your tickets now. The A Cappella Festival is proudly endorsed by Beyond the Return and supported by Charterhouse, Events Dome, Midima Foheba Clinic, Meridian Ghana Conference, and powered by United in Praise. Pella Fest, a Hope Channel Ghana production.
All right. Welcome back to the consulting room. My name is Dr. Usumensa. We were speaking about how we manage through medical school, and now we are on the topic of areas of specialization and how, as Adventist doctors, we intend to promote Adventist health. So, I'd like to ask you, Benedict, what areas of specialization are you considering? Or
Okay, so for now, at first I was thinking of being a general surgeon, but there are some weeks in trauma and orthopedics now. I want to be an orthopedic surgeon.
that's interesting. When I did my orthopedic rotation, what I realized was all the orthopedic surgeons were like, they were very muscular, very big people, just But yes, but general settings, they work a lot. You know, they have weekend duty. They have, I mean, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Are you ready for that? You know, as orthopedics, or if you want to do any type of surgical specialty, I think you have to do like a few years or 1 year.
For now,
surgery.
you can do it directly.
You can do it directly.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. What about you, Sylvia?
So there's specialties. I'm not still decided, but it's between obstetric and gynecology, and also radiology. I really like the two of them, but I know in obstetric and gynecology there's a lot of work, and it's very demanding. I also have to work on the weekends, so I have to consider going to church and observing the Sabbath with that one. But with radiology, I don't really know much, but I think there's more free time in that one compared to obstetrics and gynecology. But I'm still deciding. I've not yet made a final decision.
I don't know, from my rotation, it seemed to me like, you know, the radiologists, they had it easy, you know. I think they came Monday to Friday, and then that was, so I think they closed early some days too, so that was, I don't know, I always thought general surgery was the way to go, but after my final year rotation, I was traumatized. There was so much work to do, and then, not that I'm not hardworking, but that work was beyond me. You know, and do that for several years, I'm like, wow. And then there's also the concept of weekend duty. And I think that once we become like consultants or at the top of our field, you know, we have some leeway. But at the beginning, when we are junior residents, senior residents, I don't think we have much sway whether or not we want to come to work on Saturday or not. So I think we have to keep that in mind. I was also thinking anesthesia. They also seem to have it fairly easy in life. But the idea that, you know, the person's life is in your hands, you know, I feel like anesthesia is one of the more literal. If you make a mistake, I kill the doctor. But other specialties, you know, people can look through that sort of thing. But yeah. So I'd like to ask you, Sylvia, how do you want to promote Adventist health in the hospital you go to for your house job and beyond?
Okay, so we know as Adventists, we concentrate on the fact that healthy living, combining diet and exercise is the way to go. And so for me, what I would like to do with my patients, one other thing besides prescribing their medications and advising them on changing their lives, I also promote dietary changes, like eating more vegetables and then also exercising more. I think if you're able to convince your patients to do that or incorporate that into their lives, it will really help in changing or making their lives better. And it's also in a form of preventive medicine. Yeah.
I think when I was preparing to go and write my end of rotation for medicine, you know, because diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia, all of them, you know, preventive medicine, you know, exercise 3 times a week, moderate exercise. I have that in my mind. Eat more fruits and vegetables. Yeah, I think that's now, I mean, that's taking a long while, but now we are beginning to realize that that is one of the ways to ensure healthy living. Benedict, what about you?
So I think it's always about preaching the good message, and that's eating very well, then exercising. And so as much as people would listen to you as a doctor, and so you speak to them about what is good for their health, what they need to do, and all that.
All right. When we go to our various places to do our house job, how do you expect to carry the banner of being an Adventist? Because there are several misconceptions, you know, in the university, obviously, because we're so few, people used to have a few ideas about us initially. I mean, once we became friends, we put all those assumptions aside. But in these new areas that we're going to work with, how do we intend to show people that we are Adventists and this is what we are, these are the values we stand for? Sylvia.
Okay, so I think it's all about how you carry yourself about. If you are able to portray what you believe in, then people around you who are seeing you as a person know that, okay, so this person's an Adventist and this is their way of living, this is how they carry themselves, and then from what they see, they're able to, when you advise them, they'll be able to mind you because they're actually seeing what you are talking about, like you are actually practicing it. So they will not have any doubts when you ask them to change maybe their way of living or their lifestyle.
I think you're right. now more than ever, we need to move forward to acting what God is in, because once you put on the TV, there are several preachers always trying to tell people what to do. But I think that the best form of evangelism is our lifestyle and how we interact. Benedict, what about you?
Yeah, I stand with so Dr. Sylvia. It's very, very true. There was this occasion someone saw Kwame Yeboah. He was our vice president. I was like, oh, Kwame Yeboah. I was with Kwame Yeboah, and he was like, Kwame Yeboah is an Adventist. Like you see Kwame Yeboah, and you should know he's an Adventist. And I was like, oh, why? Don't you see me as one? I was like, oh, you even have beard. And I was like, oh, seriously? So Adventists, they don't keep beards. So it's more of how we carry ourselves, how we speak to others and all that. And we don't need to speak to people about who we are. They should see us, then know that, oh yeah, because he's an Adventist, that's why he does that. That's why he carries himself this way. Yeah.
All right. As you know, we are now going to be integrated into main fellowships. We've now graduated from the student fellowships. How do we intend to impact the fellowships? How do we intend to impact the main churches? You know, some of them, they have like several. Now, for what I've seen in my church, you know, sometimes they call us to come and give like health talks and others. How do we intend to speak to them, you know, cause some sort of change? Because some of them don't really believe in the Western or Orthodox medicine. They believe in the traditional medicine. And this is even more so when we go to the distant communities. How, if you're posted in a district, for instance, how do we intend to inform these people that maybe the Western medicine too is also good, and that maybe sometimes if they are facing some challenges too, they should also go to the hospital? Sylvia.
As for this issue, like, I don't really know how to go about it, because I actually advise the people around me that the Orthodox medicine is the way to go, because that's what I believe in as a medical student and now a graduate from medical school. But there are people too who have the belief that the traditional medicine is also better than the Orthodox medicine. But if all this depends on how I'm able to convince them about the Orthodox medicine, I think with time, with more practice in medicine, I'll be able to convince them.
All right, what about you, Benedict?
Yeah, so there's more of a social issue.
Yeah.
Speaking to people to believe in what you believe. Yeah, it wouldn't be easy. It wouldn't be easy. But I think with our lives, if we are healthy and we are telling them, oh, these are the things that we take, and that's the reason why we are healthy, surely they are going to follow us. So we need to live very healthy, and then if we are healthy and we speak to them that these are the things that we do, they are surely going to do that.
I think it all comes back to the point that we are the best adverts. How we live our lives, how we interact with people is what is going to show other people that this is the right thing to do. But I was thinking that we should also consider a blend of both orthodox and then traditional medicine. I mean, I think it will be very difficult to appear one day and say that, okay, don't trust your head, because they've been using these for several years and it has some effect. It could be a placebo effect, but it has some effects and they believe in it. So I think that the best is a bit of both. Someone who is clearly hypertensive and is taking some herbs and is maybe complaining of headaches, you tell the person that you try the Western medicine for a while. Maybe it's the complication of the hypertension to bring it down, and then it will be better. That's what I think. Is there anything you want to tell Baden or the people who have just finished, the varsity results are just in, people want to apply to medical schools? Is there any advice you'd want to give them, Benedict?
Yeah, well, I'll tell them to study. You have to study. Then, apart from studying, you believe in God. You need to pray very, very well. I went to UG interview, wrote exam there, then went for interview. Then also went to Kent University interview and all those things. And then, see, when we're waiting for those people who have been taken there, we're waiting for the list. There was this thing, see, you need to pray. It was all about prayers. And I remember even the day before, our house, we were all fasting. We were waiting for the list to come out, and we were all fasting. Yeah, you need to pray, you need to trust in God, and also study. Yeah, that's the key.
Right, Sylvia, what about you?
I side with him, like everything that he has said. As for getting into medical school is like you leave everything to God, because you can study, you can pass the interview, but then you might not be picked and you might lose hope in that. So I think with that one, you leave everything to God. And you also have to really study hard. Yes.
Do you have any tips for the interviews or anything? I know it's been 6 years, but if there's anything you can remember.
Okay, so what I remember is you study really hard. Like, don't just skew towards medicine. I mean, towards medicine-related stuff, like science and maths. You have to be wide-read. You have to know your social studies-related stuff. They might ask you stuff about the history of Ghana or something. I remember I was asked during my interview. Yeah, and you also have to make sure that you dress formally. You have to dress nicely for the interview. You have to be polite, and generally that's it.
Right. What I also want to say to the young men and women is that for the interview, composure is key. Just be calm, interact as much as possible, do what you want to do. And if you are accepted, don't forget that you're an Adventist. Whichever medical school you go to, always make it a point to try and look for the Adventist fellowship, the nurse group over there, try and interact with them. As you've heard other panelists say, sometimes it was a bedrock for us, sometimes things were hard, but because of the people we were there. Don't try to go through it alone, just do your very best. I also want to say that even if the results have come and you've not done too well, it doesn't matter. Medicine is it's not only medicine that you can do. There are several other things you can do. If you are called for the exam and then you are not accepted, it doesn't matter. You can always consider maybe doing 1 year elsewhere and reapply next year or something. But what I want to say is that just do you. God always has a plan for us. And it's not all of us, not all Adventists will become doctors, not all Adventists will become pharmacists, but just believe in God's plan and then do your very best. I think one thing we didn't talk much is our personal lives with Christ during medical school. And so let's just talk about that. I'll start first. I'll say personally, I couldn't have done it without Christ. Personally, I mean, there were some days, I wouldn't even do my devotion because sometimes 7 a.m. class, 7:30 a.m. class, you wake up, you're already on your way, but I always try to do it. But in as much as I put in work, I also want to give all the glory to Christ. He was there with me. There were some times that things were hard. I think some days you don't even want to go to church, you're tired and things, but God was there and He helped us. So I would like to say thank you to God. What about you, Sylvia?
Yeah, for me, I had a funny relationship with God during my 6-year medical school. Like, during the first 3 years, I was very audacious. I was always going to church, and I wasn't really missing church. But then during my last 3 years, I realized that my relationship with God kind of went down, it dwindled. I was skipping church. I had, it's because I had issues with combining my academics with my social life, with church, and so a lot of issues. But I was able to pass through it by the grace of God, and I thank God for that.
Right. What about you, Benedict?
For my first year, second year in medical school, it was really about me and God. Now that you are in the school fresh, you need to serve God. Always go to church. You need to read your Bible. All those chappy things, you need to do them very, very well. But it was, sometimes we go astray. Okay, when things are going on very well, we go astray. But God is so gracious. Anytime we come to Him, He accepts us. Yeah, so in clinical year, 4th year, 5th year, I wasn't really like that. Sometimes you go to church, sometimes you don't go. It wasn't really that kind of forced thing. And I was even sleeping alone then. So you just close your door, they'll come and knock, oh, you're not around. But as we were coming to final year, I realized, oh, now I'm moving way far from God. And so I started going to church, serving the Lord. And then, he has done a lot of things in my life.
All right, so just a quick one, about the concept of failure in medical school. Sometimes you write an I, you not pass, and things. For most of us, I'm sure it was a shock, having been, being very good students in senior high school and things. How were you able, very briefly, how were you able to manage these shocks, these not doing well? How were you able to manage that?
Yeah, that was in fifth year, final year. See, you write the exam, oh, this I've really done well. See, I've done everything. People were complaining, oh, this paper was very, very difficult, and you feel it within yourself. You studied very well, and you've done it. I will come out and you be like just on top of the 50, like 56, 57. And you be asking yourself like, what didn't I do? Because with the OSCE and all those things, you were able to answer all the questions, all the things that they asked you. You answered it very well. So how come you had those marks? Yeah, it shocks us. But the most important thing is you passed. You were able to get above 50, and you have to be gracious to God for that. Sometimes it's really shocking, but you just have to be gracious to God because you didn't fail.
All right, what about you, Sylvia?
For me, I did have resets, yes, and I was when I had resets, I was very shocked, but I was able to learn and cover up, yeah. And as for the learning aspect of it, I mean, like, I didn't really have, it's like you learn the thing and then you are still not able to understand why you learned, you wrote the exam, but you don't understand why you failed the paper, but then by the grace of God.
Yeah. I think I also had some referrals, as we call it, and I think the first one that I had, I was so surprised that I was like, look, I'm not going to tell my parents. I'll just put in my back pocket and then save up, pay my thing and then just write and then go. But eventually I had to tell them that, look, this is it. And they were very, very understanding. They were like, we understand that, Charlie. It's tough, that sort of thing. But what I want to just say is that Christ has been with me, and then I tried to understand that the failure was not the end, and that there was another opportunity to write it and pass. And that I should just study as much as possible and then do what I could do. We'll take in a few words from some people. Dr. Benedict, in the assignment, says he would like to ask you how you intend to promote the Adventist Church and the message when you start work.
I think we spoke about that, living our lives as an example. So, see the things an Adventist should do. You shouldn't speak rudely to your patients. You should advise your patients on the things they need to do to keep them healthy and all those things. And then being healthy ourselves. Yeah.
All right. Sylvia, would you like to add something to that?
Oh, I think we spoke about it. And so, like, all that I said is what I'm sticking to. If you're able to live your life in a certain way, live healthily, eat healthily, I think the people around you will be able to see, and then if you are able to advise them on it, hopefully they will take your advice.
All right. Kwame Yeboah says, NASCAT is definitely one of the best fellowships to be in. Such a wonderful family. God bless you, Benedict, for your service and your impact. It seems you're doing a lot over there. Benedict, God bless you. And then the last one, please, could the doctors have their say on the recent misunderstanding between a house officer and a nurse at Minsha Hospital and on bullying as well? So very briefly, what do we think about the matter? Personally, I don't know, from the beginning of the matter, I thought that it was wrong that first only a tiny part first came out. It was the audio that first came out, and then people came and said, and the initial story about diazepam and things eventually came out was not true. But I think that the underlying point is that I think that we should not be too quick to crucify people, you know, usually one message comes out and then, oh, the person's a bad person, then the full message comes out and realize, okay, maybe the situation is not so black and white, and that is a bit of a mixed thing. But I believe that as Adventists, young doctors who are going, we have to sort of embody Christ. We have to be Christ-like. We should always be patient. Whatever things that, any bad character, any harassment, we take it to God, we take it to the relevant authorities. But personally, we should just be accepting of everything. Let them do what they want to do to us and live the life that Christ wants us to live. If they do us wrong, we'll do them right in return, because that's what Christ has asked us to do. But I think that it should be addressed, and doctor-nurse relationship should be talked about in a more general sense, especially at the dementia hospital. What do you think, Benedict?
So yeah, see, I don't want to be biased, Dr. Sylvia.
As for the story, I didn't really hear the truth. I can't even tell which one is true because there are so many sides to the story, and so I can't just conclude, like make a conclusion that this one is wrong or this one is wrong. So on that note, I won't really talk much about it.
Let's love ourselves. Yeah, if there was enough love for each other, this wouldn't have come up. So we should love ourselves.
All right. Any final remarks, any final messages you want to tell the audience? Sylvia.
Oh, okay. So being an Adventist medical student is not easy, but it is doable. That's all I want to say.
All right, Benedict.
Oh yeah, you can do it as an Adventist medical student. Yeah, you can do it. God on our side.
All right. What I want to say is that first of all, being a medical student is not easy. Being an Adventist medical student is also not easy. So it's very difficult. It's hard, to be very frank with you. It's hard. There are several challenges that you have to go through, but if you persevere, if you stick to your founding beliefs, if you stick to the doctrines and just do it, I believe that God being with you, you'll be able to do the best that you can. And failure is okay. Failure, everyone feels at one point in the future. It comes as a shock to everyone, but what's more important is that you pick it up and then you pick yourself up and then continue to do more than you can. I mean, we all don't know our limits. You know, medical school has brought us different things we didn't even know as, you know. I think, yeah, so far as you do your very best, try hard, wherever you are, whether you are you're a pharmacist, you're doing social sciences, just don't forget you're an Adventist. Do what you're supposed to do the right thing, stick to God. God will never let you down. He'll always be there for you. Even when you go astray, God will be there for you. Put in the right effort, and then I think that's everything should work out well. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on the consulting brought to you by Cocoa Dairy Milk. It's been a pleasure.